The Void, Series 1, Episode 2. Who the hell is Buck Rogers? Chapter 12. Found it, he announced triumphantly as he re-entered the research office.
Excellent, Rachel responded.
Where's Akari?
She went to medical, Rachel notified.
Kane, can you notify Dr. Takuma that I have retrieved the device from the satellite? Denom asked. She may want to have a look at this. Certainly, Dr. Richt. Denom returned to his desk and placed the device in a flat area, planning what he was going to do next. The first thought that occurred to him was power. The device would have a battery of some description, but that would have been long dead. He would have to remove that and find a way of supplying it with power independent of the battery. Examining it, he found a way to open the casing. All handheld devices had some means of opening the casing, but they did vary. He found two suitable indentations on either side and pulled at them, popping the plastic backing off the device. Locating the battery, he found evidence of some corrosion, but no damage to the contacts. He pulled it out and went looking for an adapter. His desk was built for contactless charging of devices, but the mediapad didn't appear to be capable of that. He rooted through the storage cupboard where they kept the device parts. It always made sense to stock all manner of electronic adapters, as they always proved useful at some point or another. Denom retrieved a device with a smooth base with a cable protruding from it, with an unusual broad and flat head. Thin metallic teeth were visible inside the sheath of the head. Right, let's see if this works. He clipped the head onto the back of the device and activated it. A light shone from the head over the contacts, and then a number of metallic teeth extended slightly to make contact with the device's exposed metal. Flipping the device, he searched for the power button and waited. The black screen remained inactive for a short while, but eventually the Hella logo appeared on the screen. Fortune was with him, it seemed. After what seemed to be an agonizingly long time, a menu appeared. There was an error message at the bottom of the display, and was readable due to his Babel implant uploaded a few cycles ago. It indicated that the wireless function was unavailable. Tutting, he looked at a port at the top of the device. This was where the connecting cable would attach, but the shape was different to the current standard. He marched back to the storage cupboard and located an adaptable cable. It had a standard attachment at one end and a bulky connector at the other. Like the power device, it too was capable of changing its shape to match the connection. Holding the end of the mediapad's port, he watched it scan the connection and mold its shape to match. He then plugged it in and attached the standard end into his console. Moving his attention to the console display, he started to initiate a connection with the device. It could sense the connection, but the encoding was not compatible. Denom initiated a search for a compatible codec within the Liberator's digital archive. It found one with a partial match and started rewriting the code to match the device. After a delay and some automated trial and error, it found the correct configuration and started talking to the device, confirming this was a successful connection message. Relatively painless, Denom quipped. Antivirus software started aggressively interrogating the device, preventing Denom from accessing it while it performed the task. While this was progressing, he decided to play with the device itself, skimming through the menu for useful options. The menu system was a bit of an unintuitive interface, and it made it difficult to review. He found the personal data first and found it belonged to Steve Merchant. There were personal information files available, including personal photos and logs. These might shine a light on the individual that owned the device, but this was unlikely to contain the information they required. He might return to it if there was nothing else, but for now, he pressed onwards. Mission files and logs were then found, and there were plenty of them. Whatever the hellish ship that was hauling the satellite was, it seemed to have been a busy one. Working backwards would be the best approach, but it made sense to go through visual streams first, as these were fewer in number and more likely to contain something that would give an overview of the situation. Communications that involved the assignation of missions tended to be done face-to-face, so this gave him a place to start. It wasn't always the case, but it was a general rule. Almost immediately, he identified a number of files that were good candidates and tried accessing them, only to find that there was no response. He didn't think it was a problem with the files exactly, as it seemed like the touchscreen was only responding intermittently. Rather than spend time fighting with the interface, He decided he would just look at the files once it had been downloaded. He sighed and stared at the screen, watching the progress bar slowly fill up. He quietly cursed the bar, thinking about how little the concept had changed since its inception millennia ago. Some irritations, it seemed, were eternal. There was a pleasant sound to indicate the task completion, and he started hunting the files down, finding them in a predefined directory, structured in the same way as they had been on the device. This made it easy for him to find the files that he had been looking for on the device. He opened the first file, which appeared to be a communication between the Hela ship and Hela Command. The main screen contained a uniformed officer, with another picture appearing in the corner that seemed to show the ship's command crew. Captain Tannen? Sir. You were supposed to have been at Lystra by now. What are the reasons for the delay? We've had to take a detour, sir, Captain Tannen explained. We discovered that a skirmish had occurred in the Lamia system. That skirmish has been over for days before you were due to pass through that system, Tannen? Yes, sir, but the site of recent activity is a risk. We had no idea if there were any remaining hostiles present, Tannen argued. I wasn't going to subject my crew to unnecessary danger if I could avoid it. That's a very commendable attitude, Captain. But that was not your decision to make, the officer barked. The skirmish was over. You should have followed the route planned out. Sir, this ship is not built for speed or maneuverability. It's a hauler, nothing else. If we get caught with our pants down, Tannen responded angrily. You'll get your cargo. It'll just take a little longer. It's a good job this mission wasn't time-sensitive, otherwise your contract would have been void, the officer contended. That said, late delivery of the cargo warrants a reduction in pay. We'll be deducting 10% pay, 25% soluble blue, 15% tremble. Come on, Fist, that's unreasonable, Tannen contested. I accept the 10% pay cut, but you can't take such a large cut of the soluble blue and tremble. It's all part of the standard operating procedure, Tannen. You know that. You signed the contract. The contract? We want what's ours. A 10% cut is fair, but no more. This is not up for negotiation, Captain. That is the fine as it stands. You can't treat us like that. Do you even want these peepsicles? Tannen complained, using the derogatory term for those in stasis. I shouldn't need to remind you of what clause you invoke if you do not make the delivery, Captain Tannen. The officer named Fisk emphasized the last words to instill some threat into the statement. Tannen cursed, defeated. Make sure the cargo gets here within 5 metric days or you'll invoke a further fine, the officer demanded. Fisk out. The main screen went black as the officer terminated his side of the communication, but the subscreen remained online. Corporate, are you every time? Someone off-screen bellowed. Not your fault, Hennig. We've got your back. The screen within a screen cut out. They were being paid in tremble. Hey, Kari, Denom noticed. You've been stood there long. Just the last few seconds, Akari revealed. The soluble blue I'm hardly overjoyed about, but that's nothing in comparison to tremble. You know Hela? Awful stuff. Akari had seen the effects of many narcotics, and tremble, though nowhere near the worst, did have some devastating side effects. It had been developed to increase the efficiency of energy distribution in the musculature, which it did exceedingly well. This made it a popular drug for increasing productivity in manual jobs. The downside was it could easily starve the body if calorific intake wasn't adjusted accordingly. Many people starved themselves without even realizing they were hungry, focused on their jobs with zeal. It could also cause neurological damage over time as well, so if it didn't kill you in the short term, it would in the long run. The professionally accepted alternative to if was an accelerated famine. So what have you found out? Not much so far. Seems they took a detour and Hela were not happy about it. Nothing else? I've only just started looking, Denom protested. There's plenty of messages to get through, but I thought I'd start with the streams. What does the last message say? Denom selected the most recent message and started reading it out loud. All, possible hostile in system, return to ship, Hennig. Confirms what the surveillance stream showed. Hence they were set adrift. Denom shuttled through the list looking for streams again. He had taken note of the tags attached to the communications he had just viewed and was searching for similar tags. He found one a few weeks earlier and decided to view it. Like the previous communication, the officer named Fisk took up most of the screen while the captain and his crew occupied a smaller in-frame screen. "My name is Fisk and I represent the Hela Corporation," he stated. "Which one of you is Captain Tannen?" "That'll be me, sir." "Excellent. The corporation has an opportunity for you and your crew if you are available for contract work."
"We might be. What's the job?"
"It's a long haul, from Earth to Illustra."
"That's a good few weeks' travel at our speed."
"We are aware of that. You should be able to reach Illustra in enough time using standard routes."
"What's the cargo?"
"It's a satellite, Earth orbit."
"How big?"
"Morpheus class."
"That's going to cost you."
"So you'll take it then?"
"If the pay's good enough."
"Standard haulage fee for the mass plus an extra 10%.
"Okay, sounds good," Tannen agreed. "What's the contents of the satellite?"
"Sleepers, around 20,000 of them."
"What do you need them moved to Illustra for?"
"I don't know if you keep up with news from the new colonies, but Illustra had a disastrous time since it was founded. There was a plague that wiped out a large amount of the colony, and their population has now died down to a level where it threatens the genetic diversity of the population. They desperately need an influx of new blood, as the saying goes."
"And I guess no one wants to move to a plague planet."
"The plague was eradicated, but you know what people are like when it comes to disease," Fisk explained. "We need to import new DNA so we can grow a population of clones and expand the diversity. We can extract some of the citizenry, but why go to the effort when you have a stock of DNA all sat in one place?"
"You're not using the sleepers themselves?"
"It's an old satellite. We're not sure what mental condition the sleepers will be in when they're revived. The process was still new back then, not perfected. We know there's a good chance that a large number of them will have suffered significant neural damage," Fisk reasoned. "It's expected that most, if not all, will have some degree of this degradation. It's just a matter of how much." Denom paused the stream for a moment. "Has there been a high indication of neural damage to those passengers on the satellite?" he asked Akari. "It has been high. About 70% of them have some form of function loss. Nothing that isn't repairable over time," Akari responded. "But back then, the prognosis would have been much worse." "How about Mr. Vincent?" "He had a remarkably low loss of cognitive function, considering the time he was put into stasis. He was quite lucky in that regard." "Does he know?" "Oh yes, he took it quite well, all things considered. Turned it into a joke." Denom smiled. Their guest did seem to have a gift of humor. He returned his focus to the stream and hit play.
"Why not take their DNA from the satellite?" Tannen asked. "Be easier than hauling the whole satellite."
"The satellite itself can be repurposed. The sleepers will be evaluated medically, and if healthy, they will be revived. If not, they will be quietly euthanized," Fisk elucidated. "It's not just Illustra that needs new blood." Tannen seemed to mull over this carefully, assessing his options.
"All right, Fisk. You have a deal."
"Good. I'll send you a standard contract. Once you commit to it, I'll send you all the details you need to know."
"Okay. Thanks for thinking of Tannen haulage. We know you have a choice,"
Tannen wisecracked. Fisk just responded with a harumph and ended the conversation. Again, this left the main screen blank, but the smaller screen still active.
"Just what we needed, lads."
"Guess the military's too busy with the war," one of Tannen's cronies celebrated. "So they're turning to the private sector to do the job."
"As long as they're paying well, you won't hear me come."
At that point, the stream ended. "Well, at least that confirms what you thought," Akari commented. It doesn't explain what happened after they abandoned the satellite, or why they never returned it. It was clearly of value to them," Denom considered. "Maybe whatever they detected before they abandoned the satellite destroyed them. They were off the planned route already." "I don't think you're going to get any answers beyond that point, Denom." "Maybe you're right. Maybe this is all there is," Denom sighed. "I hate not knowing the full picture." "This will give Mr. Vincent, as well as the others, some context for their predicament, though," Akari soothed. "A partial picture is better than a total mystery." Poor Carter. He probably would have been one of those put down.
Just for his pre-existing condition rather than neural degradation, though.
Sometimes fortune seems to have a very dark sense of humor.
We're going to have to tell him about this.
Let me tell him. I'm going for lunch with him a bit later. Denom offered for practical reasons. Firstly, he was going to be the first one to see him, and secondly, he found Akari was a little blunt at delivering news like this. She came across as an excellent doctor, but she did lack a little tact.